Hey, welcome to Skills with Phil. Today, we're going to be learning how to ride switchbacks. Switchbacks are characterized by being tight turns on steep terrain. The first difficulty with doing switchbacks is there's very little room to complete the turn. If you're not set up properly, you may find yourself going off the trail. And since switchbacks are usually located on steep terrain, going off the trail usually isn't an option. So let's look at a few different ways we can ride switchbacks. The most common way is simply to set up wide. In most situations, this will give us just enough room to complete the turn. A more advanced technique for a switchback is called an endo turn. This involves using the front brake and picking up the back wheel and swinging it around. Doing this allows us to initiate the turn quicker while also maintaining a smaller radius. Not to mention, when you get good at endo turns, it looks pretty dope. Now, if you want to get creative and be a special snowflake, there's one more way you can do a switchback. Obviously, this doesn't have any practical applications, unless maybe your right turn signal is broken. Okay, let's go look at these techniques more in detail. So when we set up wide, we have to remember that our front wheel will always need a greater turning radius than our back wheel. One of the mistakes riders make when doing switchbacks is that they cut the turn too soon, and then they do not have enough real estate on the trail to complete the turn. When learning how to do switchbacks, you may want to swing out a little bit wider than you initially think you will need. Another thing to keep note of is you want to do a lot of your turning early, so by the time your front wheel reaches a slope, it should at least be turned 90 degrees. This will help gravity work with you instead of against you. To add to that, be sure you are looking where you want to go. As I initiate the turn, I'm already looking at the exit. Like with most turns, you want to do most of your braking before you get to the turn, and then in the turn, use little to no brake at all. If the switchback is located on steep terrain, you want to be sure you get your hips behind your bottom bracket and get your chest down low, and be sure you don't lean too much on your bars. Now, the more advanced technique is the endo turn. This technique is quite intimidating to use on steep terrain, so you may want to learn how to master this in a parking lot before you bring it to the trails. For this, you're going to need to aggressively but carefully grab your front brake at the apex of the turn, and at the same time, scoop up your back wheel by raising your hips and allow your back end to swing around. The better you get at modulating your front brake, the easier it will be to hold your back wheel in the air. With that being said, you don't need to know how to do a big flashy endo turn for it to be useful. Simply picking up your back wheel, moving it a little bit may be all you need. If you find yourself running out of real estate to make your turn, there are a few techniques you can use to get yourself out of trouble. One technique is to grab a fistful of back brake to get your back end to swing around. Don't rely on this technique too often because skidding on trails is usually frowned upon, as this will cause unnecessary wear and tear to the trails. A more practical technique is doing a wheelie or a manual. You can finish the remainder of the turn with your front wheel in the air and avoid going off the edge. A good way to practice switchbacks is to find a small bank with a moderate incline and a safe run out. Here I'm using some sticks to mark the edge of a theoretical trail. But if you want to use something a little bit less janky, you can pick up some cones off Amazon for under 10 bucks. Repeatedly practice these techniques over and over until they become second nature. As you get better, you can make the turns tighter for an additional challenge. On the last day I went out to film for this video, I ran into these local shredders who happen to be big fans of this channel. They both agreed to test their skills on this turn. They did a pretty darn good job. Not bad, guys, not bad. So, in a nutshell, that's how you do switchbacks. If you haven't seen my other videos on how to turn, I'll leave a link to that playlist at the end of this video. There's a lot of good information in those videos that I wasn't able to cover here. Last but not least, I want to give a big thanks to the Patreon community for coming up with this video suggestion. As always, my name is Phil Metz. Thanks for playing bikes with me today, and I'll see you guys next time.